In this video I've made up an example task for level 1 measurements. You can choose after the first slide to pause the video and do the task on your own and then follow the solution or go over the solution with the one that I give, or you might choose to just watch the video and make sure that you understand what I do as I go along. It does cover most of the work that's required at level 1 for this topic. So here's the task that we're going to do. You might want to pause the video at this time so that you can try and do this on your own. So Jory wants to re-tarmac his driveway that we've got here. He's going to lay the tarmac to a thickness of 10 centimetres over this whole area. He can transport the tarmac in a wheelbarrow in the shape of a trapezium prism. Jory can fill this wheelbarrow in 15 minutes. Your task is to calculate the volume of tarmac required for the whole driveway, the number of trips he's got to make with this wheelbarrow to fill this, and the time it takes him to complete the job, and the time he'll finish if he starts at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. So our first job is to work out the volume of the trapezium, or the trapezium prism. First thing we've got to realise is that when we look at this, the units are not all the same. So I've got this one in metres, these in centimetres, and I have to decide whether I'm going to do my calculations in cubic centimetres or cubic metres. Well, because I'm actually going to be doing a whole driveway, I'm going to change everything to metres. So I'll use 0.5 for the height, I'll use 0.9 for this bottom length and 0.4 for this length here. The first thing that I want to do is work out the area of that trapezium front over here. And remember, the area of trapezium is we add these parallel sides together, we divide by 2 and we multiply by the distance between them. So we've got 0.9 plus 1.2 over 2 times 0.5, and we get the answer of 0.625. We now want the volume, and for the volume I've got to multiply this area for this front face by that length, so I'm going to multiply this by 0.4, and I get our answer for the volume to be approximately 0.21 metres cubed. So now we want to work out the area of this driveway, and if we look carefully we can see that the driveway is made up of a quarter circle here of radius 3 metres and a trapezium here with one parallel side length 10 and another one with side 8, the 5 plus the 3. So the area of the quarter circle is going to be pi r squared over 4, in our case pi times 3 squared over 4, which is approximately 7.07. And then for our trapezium it's going to be the 10 plus the 8 divided by 2 multiplied by 4, so we get 36. So the total area of the driveway is those added together, which is approximately 43.1 metre squared. So now we want the volume of the driveway. Now, if you remember, we know the area of the driveway, and then we're putting tarmac on to the same thickness all the way over. So effectively it's a prism where we have this base area which we're going to multiply by a depth of 10 centimetres, but we're going to do everything in metres, so that's 0.1 metres. So it's going to be 43.1 that area times 0.1 that depth, so we're going to need 4.3 metres cubed of tarmac. Okay, so let's work out what time Jory's going to finish his work. The first we need to do is work out the number of trips. And to get the number of trips, we're going to have to do the volume of the drive divided by the volume of one wheelbarrow, because that will tell us how many times he's got to do it. So that's going to be 4.31 divided by 0.21, and we get this number of 20.5. Now, we're not going to do exactly 20.5 trips. We're not going to stop halfway along. So we're either going to do 20 trips or 21 trips. Well, 20 trips will not give us enough tarmac, so we're going to have to use 21. The time required, well, it's 15 minutes for each of those trips. So the time required is going to be 21 times 15, which gives us 315 minutes. Now I want to change that into hours and minutes, because when we're going to get the finish time, obviously we tell the time in hours and minutes. Now 1 hour requires 60 minutes, so how many lots of 60 go into 315? Well, that's going to be 5, and there are 15 minutes left over, so that must be 5 hours and 15 minutes. So to work out the finish time, all we've got to do is add 5 hours and 15 minutes on to 7 hours and 30 minutes, and we get 12:45 p.m. Okay, some final thoughts on what we've just done. We've just worked out that jury will finish at 12:45 p.m, and if we were doing our work, we might well have written that down. But at the end of a task, you're going to have to show that you've got a real understanding of what's going on. So how accurate is our time? Well, we haven't taken account of jury having a break at some point, someone disturbing at some point. We've assumed that the tarmac at 10 centimetres thick is completely even all the way along, even though there might be some holes at certain areas that require us to have more. We've assumed that we're going to perfectly fill that wheelbarrow to the same amount each time. Maybe sometimes we'll put in a little bit more, maybe sometimes we'll put in a little bit less. But these are all thoughts that we need to make clear in our write-up at the end to show the marker that we know that our answer is not exact and really it's just a ballpark figure and probably a little bit on the low side.